Good morning and happy today. Our first song is 626. In a little while, we're going home. Please sing.
Good morning, guys. I think this is on. Yeah. Okay, let me just get this up and running. Well, okay. So today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the dinosaur project, the Dino Dig, that I go on every summer. It's a really awesome place. The scenery is great, the atmosphere is great, the activities are great. I'm going to go a little bit into what our project is and a little bit of what the things you see when you're looking around at nature while you're out there. Basically, the project is a taphonomic study, which means why are they there? How did they get there? What happened to cause their death? What happened to them after they were dead? Taphonomy is how they ended up where they're at. So the project started in 1996. I wasn't involved back then. I've only been going for about 12 years. This summer will be 13. It's a cooperative project, Southwestern and the Earth History Research Center and Hansen Research Station. It's a couple groups that are made up of the ranch owners, the people at the university, several other scientists from Southern and Loma Linda, and a few other colleges. It operates in Wyoming in the month of June, about 4 weeks. It's offered as a college credit for a class, and you basically are out there hands-on digging up dinosaur bones. Don't know of anywhere else that you can really get the same hands-on experience. After the month in Wyoming, they take all the bones back to Southwestern, and throughout the next year and in the future, they start cleaning and prepping the bones for display in museums and for research. Here's a little map, and at the top left, it shows the state of Wyoming, and then the big part is a zoomed-in section in the northeast corner, and the arrow points at where the ranch is actually located in Niobrara County. Fun fact about Niobrara County, it's the least populated county in the least populated state. So anyway, there's not very many people there. I forget the exact amount, but it's I think, double-digit amount of population in that county. It may have recently gotten up into triple digits, but it's very, very small amount. This is an older picture of the research station, the place that we stay. We stay in tents, and then there's a building on site that has a kitchen, showers, bathrooms, and some storage area for the equipment. So we hang out in the building, and then at night go back to our own tents to sleep. Here's another view with some of the vehicles from a land view instead of up in the air. And as you can tell maybe from the picture, there is sometimes some rainstorms that come in. There's a lot of wind, so we have to have pretty sturdy, shall we say, tents. And even then, some of them still get damaged, but we have a bunch of extras that we provide if people aren't able to stay in their own tent for whatever reason. So from that camp spot, we hike about a mile to the dig site. You can see up here, the camp spot is at the top right corner, and the dig site's at the bottom, somewhat to the left. So there's a lot of hike or drive to get from the campsite to the dig site. It's a good morning walk every day. Then this is an overhead view of the dig site. Again, this is quite a few years ago. That little building is no longer there. So there's several main quarry areas, and then up towards the top right, there's a little shed and an outhouse, and that's the bathroom when you're actually out at the dig site. So it's a little bit primitive, but it's a lot better than most research stations around the world and other projects. This is kind of another topographical-ish map with all the red dots, and the other colors are the locations where we've found bones. Again, this was probably 5 to 10 years ago that this picture was created. So it's expanded a bit, more filled out now. The colors that are not red are the sites of actual quarries. So there's, I think I see 5 of them on that, or maybe more. We have a lot of quarries set in different places. Not all of them are current. We kind of choose which ones we want to use based on the research that people are trying to get. We have different people and groups that come out and do research throughout the month. College students doing doctorates or master's degrees come out and do projects on this area, on the findings that we have there. There's a lot of stuff goes on. This is the list of some of the dinosaurs that we find there. I don't believe that's every dinosaur, but that's some of the main ones that we find, with the most popular, or not popular, but the most common one is the Dinosaurs, the first one on that list. And then we find specimens, teeth mainly, of several of the others. The second one on the list, Nanotyrannus, is a little bit similar to T-Rex, and it's very uncommon. I think the one that we found on the ranch was the third one ever found in the world. There have been more found since then, but it was a pretty exciting discovery when they found it. And I believe that was a couple years before I started going that they started finding it. We still pull out bones from it because they're spread out over a wide area. We'll get into that a little bit more. But Admonosaurus annectens is the main dinosaur that we find. It's a very large bone bed. They've been working on it for, I don't know, close to 30 years, I think, give or take a few. And from what we can tell, we're going to keep working at that site as long as there's the ability to. The amount of dinosaur bones will last us another probably 50 to 100 years at the rate that we're excavating it. So there's a lot to do there. It's an ongoing project. There's a picture of a skeleton of the same dinosaur. Nanotyrannus, again, is similar to the T-Rex, a little bit smaller. There's a few distinct differences. Some people think it's just juvenile T-Rex. Others believe it's a different species. I lean towards a different species, but there's no real way to know for sure at this point. Triceratops, we find some of those. I know of two for sure skulls that we've found. One of them they took out, and it's being prepared at the lab. It takes several years to prep something that big. It's a huge skull. T-Rex, we find teeth mainly of T-Rex. Occasionally we'll find a small bone that we think could be T-Rex, but again, we're not completely sure. But the teeth we know are definitely T-Rex. They scavenge on the dead bodies, and as they're chewing on bones, they break off teeth. And so we find the teeth mixed in with the bones, and sometimes find teeth marks on the bones, which is really interesting. And people have done specific research on the tooth marks. Here's an actual view in the quarry. In this particular one, there's a big pile of bones right in the middle there that they're working down all around the pile, and then we eventually took out the whole pile as a group and took it back to the lab to be separated there because it was all just stuck together. You can see the bone at the bottom of the picture. Bones are fragile, as some of us know. They break easily, so to protect them from breaking, we put them in a plaster cast. Just like sometimes if you break a bone, break your leg, you put it in a cast, helps it to heal, helps it keep it safe as it's going through whatever you're going to be doing with it. And for these bones, transport is not always the most smooth. It's dirt roads out there, they're very rocky, bumpy, so they need all the protection they can get. Here's a little closer view of that mass of a bunch of ribs and some vertebra. It's kind of all mixed in together. We had to dig down all around it, and then we just cast it, put plaster on it after we prepared it and covered it with foil, and then carried it out. Some of the quarries that we do are a little bit of a hike from the main roads, so sometimes we have to carry the bones a little distance. Other times we take a cart out there. I don't remember if I put a picture of the cart in here, but it's kind of an all-terrain vehicle type thing with a bed, so we can load up people and bones in it, supplies. Some of the bones are pretty big. They're fairly heavy. One of the participants made him an apron years ago when he was about this tall, And so he found it as we were cleaning out the campsite and decided to wear it again for a picture. Anyway, fun times. The scenery out there, sunsets are amazing. Sunrises I hear are as well. I don't generally see those because I'm usually still asleep. But anyway, there's a couple different scenery pictures I have here. Again, just amazing colors in the sky. It's open, it's clear. You can see stars like crazy at night out there. You think you have it good here, it's even better there. There's deer out there. There's other wildlife. We saw a bobcat, I believe, a couple years ago, just scale a sandstone cliff. It just went right up the side of the cliff. It was really surprising. Never expected it. We've seen moose. We've seen, moose? No, not moose, sorry. What was it? Elk. It was elk, not moose. We've seen porcupines. We've seen a lot of different animals. There's coyotes out there. There's pronghorns. There's a lot of wildlife. Prairie dogs, rabbits, your normal, a lot of birds. We had golden eagles that were nearby a few years back. I think they've moved on, but I haven't seen them in a couple of years. But you never know what you're going to see wildlife-wise out there. Again, another sunset picture. There's storms, like I said earlier, and a lot of rainbows, really awesome scenery, again. This is a picture of the old building that we had. Over this last year, there was some bad weather over the winter, and it was basically destroyed. They were already in plans to get a new building, and so that's in the process of. It hasn't happened completely. So for this next summer, we're having some temporary storage buildings put up that we'll use until we get the new buildings built. But that's kind of the old building. It's lasted since before I was there, and it finally, this last year, collapsed, and the roof, I think, got blown off. But we had prepared for that. We'd taken all the supplies out of it and put them in storage in town. So just kind of hastens the project of getting a new building, which is probably a good thing. So going back to the research, there's been a lot of research into how it ended up the way it is. I kind of went over taphonomy already, so I'll just skip over that. We use GPS technology to map the bones. It's very high precision. We take GPS points. I think it's within a 2 centimeter accuracy. So we take pictures of the bones, excuse me again, and then take the GPS points with something, that's one of the older GPS models, but it still works. We still use it. They were using that 10 or 15 years ago, and it's very high tech. It still is very effective. We have some newer ones that we also use. But here's a little 1 centimeter square point with 10 tests that were taken on the same location, and they're all within that centimeter square. So it's very accurate. We find a bone, we uncover it, we clear all the dirt around it, then we take GPS points on the bone that end up in the computer, located kind of like this. We take the picture of the bone, we cut out all the background, just have the bone itself, rotate it, shrink or enlarge it so that it fits the points that we took, and then we can incorporate it into an online database that shows the relation of all the bones, how they were with other bones, what's on top, what's on bottom. It's a top-down view, so you don't get the full 3D effect from the picture, but in the computer it is in full 3D. So the first year in the main quarry, only a few bones were found, but they have, and this was the first year they used GPS, it wasn't the first year, but they found a few bones, and then over the next year, they found a few more, Then a couple of years later, they found a few more. A couple of years later, more. Eventually, they've excavated a larger area, found more bones. Again, this picture, so the most recent I have was 2014. I'm sure we have better ones. I just don't have access to them at the moment. So that kind of shows how close and packed the bones are. There's a lot of bones all around. So the black area is not yet excavated. The orange area is where it's covered, and then the excavated parts are where the bones are. And if you extend the amount where they're found, covering that whole area, you get a whole lot of bones. Anyway, there's a bunch of quarries. They're spread out all across the area. I'm going to skip through a few slides because I'm running out of time, and I have a little video clip I'd like to show you. So I'm going to kind of skip through a few. These are the amount of bones in a square, 165 square meters, how many of each different type. So with that amounts there, they can get a rough estimate of how many bones are total in the area, and they estimate between 10 and 25,000 bones. So, or 10 and 25,000 animals' bones. So that's a lot of bones to be found. Talks about how the bones are distributed. I have some information about that. I'm going to just skip through it. Comparison to the other models, and what we have looks like a major catastrophe, which currently I believe we think is a major flood. Hint, hint. Let's see if this video will work. I think.
There are perhaps 10 to 20,000 animals that have been buried across this.
Okay. Well, let me just make sure that I have the sound right. Is it working? Oh, okay. Well, let's go back to...
There are perhaps 10 to 20,000 animals that have been buried across this extensive bone bed of dinosaur fossils.
I decided I have to commit myself to saving as much of this information as I can. The dinosaur research project started out in the middle 1990s as a result of a call that I received from a vertebrate paleontologist. He invited me to go out with him to Wyoming and look at this amazing site. And when I got there, I tried to step out of the truck. There were dinosaur bones all over the ground.
Southwestern has been involved since 1997, and then in 1999 there was a class that was taught with 2 or 3 students, and from then it's grown.
We go to Wyoming each June and spend a month there excavating the remains of these dinosaurs.
Southwestern offers a 4-credit lab science course that students can take. They learn what the project is all about, and they're contributing to a valuable scientific research project. Most of what they do is the excavation, working in the quarries, finding bones, exposing them. They're learning the techniques.
the students will take these bones once they've been prepared and curate them into the collection.
I take the bones, put them on the turntable, and photograph them as they go around. And then I Photoshop them and add them to the computers so that they have a 360-degree view. So anyone can get onto the catalog and just watch them.
The research we're doing is primarily taphonomy. Taphonomy covers everything from what the dinosaurs were doing when they died, how they died, what happened after they died. It's a pretty comprehensive study, very much like crime scene investigation.
We use high precision surveying equipment that's GPS based so that we can make multiple measurements on each fossil to determine their location in 3 dimensions to within a centimeter. And that way we can then use the computer to reconstruct a virtual quarry. With that we can look at the distribution of bones, and that may tell us something about how they happened to come to that location.
We have a number of other activities besides digging up dinosaur bones. And one of the highlights of the trip for many students is the spiritual aspect. We pray together, we have worships. In our course lectures, we emphasize not only the nature of the dinosaurs, but also about the aspects of creation that are important to us all. Because if creation is not a valid account of origins, neither is the sacrifice of Christ a valid account of salvation.
You don't see this every day. I don't care where you're from, whether it's from California like I am, Thailand, Africa, New Zealand, and wherever. We have an opportunity to discover history. You're a city girl, city guy, city old guy, city young girl guy, whatever you are. Just come, all right?
This project is open-ended. We aren't going to run out of bones anytime in the near future. I will continue to work with it as long as God gives me that ability.
We're finding life. Like, okay, they're all dead, but it's life. It's previous life, okay? You know what I'm saying?
Anyway. Okay, so if you have any questions about the dig or interest in going to it, please see me at some point and talk to me about it. I'd love to take a group or even an individual. So let's go ahead and close with prayer, and then y'all can head to breakfast. So if you'll bow your heads. Dear Jesus, thank you for this nice day you've given us. Thank you for the sunshine and the warmer weather that we're having. I ask that you be with us today as we're getting ready to leave for break. Just go with us, keep us safe, and bless us over this next time that we have coming up. Thank you for the food that we're about to eat. Help to nourish our bodies. Amen.